right, good morning. I'm Lieutenant Nick Butler. We're going to start off this morning with Lieutenant Nyberg from the Crimes Against Persons section talking about the homicide from the weekend.
All right. Good morning. My name is Aaron Nyberg, Nyberg. I'm the lieutenant with the Crimes Against Persons section here at Sioux Falls Police Department. Like Lieutenant Butler said, I'm here to give an update on the homicide from over the weekend. Just to get started, on June 8th, shortly before 3 a.m., Sioux Falls Police Department was dispatched to a residence at the area of 58th Street and Drexel Drive for a disturbance, which is in Sioux Falls and Lincoln County. When officers arrived, they found 3 people deceased that all had gunshot wounds. They also took a person into custody, which turned out to be our suspect. The victims' names, victim number 1 is Daniel, Daniel. Carl is the middle name, Carl Kemnitz. He's a 43-year-old Sioux Falls resident, and that's Kemnitz. The second victim is Kelly Elizabeth Reeves. She's also a 43-year-old Sioux Falls resident. And victim number 3 is Michael Andrew Thompson, a 34-year-old resident. The suspect that was taken into custody is last name Rackley, Rackley. First of Justin, middle is Cody, Cody. He's a 30-year-old and Sioux Falls resident. He was lodged for 3 counts of first-degree murder. He will appear in court in Lincoln County later this morning. As far as the scene and some of the other details, we're still investigating as far as determining the relationship and motive between the suspect and the victims. It's probably too early to speak definitively about the motive because interviews are still being done on people that were at the scene. As far as the scene, it was a gathering at this residence that occurred in the early morning hours. Appeared to be for a fire pit or a bonfire at the residence, a social gathering. Again, I can't speak definitively on the motive and the relationship between everybody there until we have more information. A handgun was discovered on the scene. As far as the number of shots that were fired, that's something that I can't give you a definitive number again on the number of shots. We processed the scene. We'll have to pour over all that information, and the autopsies will happen this week, and we'll learn more information from that before I could have a definitive number on how many shots were fired. Any other questions about this right now?
Do we assume that alcohol took place, or alcohol was a part of this incident? Drugs?
I don't have any direct information that drugs were involved, but yes, people were drinking.
I know you say you can't talk about motive, but crime of passion, robbery, was it a robbery?
It doesn't appear that it was a robbery or a crime of passion. That's why we're still trying to track down anybody that was at this gathering that wasn't there at the time that it happened, to see if we can flush out some more information. But at this time, I can't really definitively speak on what the motive was.
Did the victims know the suspect?
That's another part of the relationship. They appear to be recent acquaintances. So,
do you know how many people were at the gathering?
Different amounts throughout the night. When we got there, there were 6 people that were still there. And just the last time Sioux Falls had a homicide that involved 3 or more victims was 1973, where a family was found deceased in their home with what appeared to be 4 victims and then the suspect who had committed suicide. So,
when was that? What year was that?
1973. So.
Were there kids? I mean, were there kids involved in this?
There are kids that were there but had no involvement.
Inside sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. So, all
So
right.
the number of people just varied throughout the night.
Yeah, there were some people that had been there and then had left, so.
Are we talking a dozen?
That's probably a fair estimate, although I can't tell you how many were there for sure, but,
I imagine chaos breaks loose. Did anybody leave the scene, do you know? Or did everybody stay on the scene and wait for police to arrive?
some people did leave the scene, and again, we have names and are working on, making sure that we can try to interview everybody that was there.
And it's a residential area, so were there cameras? Are you guys looking at camera footage?
There is camera footage that has been collected from, several houses in the area, so that's also footage that, has been gone over, and there's more of it that needs to be looked at, so.
Lieutenant, can you talk about how you try and piece something like this together?
Sure. It goes from the initial scene where, it was very chaotic for the officers, and our patrol officers did an excellent job when they responded out there as far as taking control of things, and then once they have control of things, we can slow way down and make sure that we block off a large enough area so we can conduct our investigation and move slow enough. Any of the neighbors out there would probably tell you we were out there until into the evening hours on Saturday, processing the scene to make sure that we try to collect everything that we have so we can get the best picture of what happened out there. And then, it's after the fact, interviewing people that were there that may have witnessed it, and then putting things together like any sort of electronic devices or things like that where we can follow up, and then following up on their evenings and things like that. So there's a lot of tasks for people still to go through to try to fill in all the gaps in the picture so we have the best picture for when we give it to the prosecutor. So
Do you feel you're gonna get a clear picture of what happened?
I think so, eventually. All right. I'll turn it back over to Lieutenant Butler. Thank you.
All right, so I'm sure as you can see, there's quite a few things in the log from over the weekend. We're just gonna touch on a few of the more important things, and if there's any calls that you had questions about that I don't cover, feel free to ask. We'll start off by talking about the incident from the area of 57 or 56th and Dunlap. That was from the 9th. About 5 o'clock in the morning, officers responded to calls of a subject with a firearm in the area of 56th and Dunlap. When they arrived on scene, officers confirmed that the suspect did have a gun, and they pursued him into a residence in that area. They did a great job setting up a perimeter, calling out the people from inside the residence, and were able to identify the suspect and take him into custody as well. The suspect in that case was charged with aggravated assault, committing a felony with a firearm, possession of a firearm by a known offender, and threatening law enforcement. That suspect is last name Morris, Morris, first name Keyshawn, Keyyshon, 8/13 of 99. Any questions about that call in particular? There were no injuries or anything associated with that. One additional weapons violation, which a press release was completed at the time, was in the area of Carter Place and Pam Road. In that instance, a reporting party said that someone had attempted to stab somebody within the residence. Officers responded, established a perimeter around the residence, and eventually were able to determine that the suspect was not inside, and they were able to clear that scene with nobody being injured. There will be follow-up that's done on that, but I know that did have some attention over the weekend.
Was there an arrest made on that one yet?
Not yet. No, detectives will be looking into that one. The last thing we'll talk about was there was a pursuit early this morning. That pursuit was initiated by the South Dakota Highway Patrol regarding a stolen vehicle. An arrest was made. Sioux Falls Police Department assisted in the search of the area and the apprehension of the suspect. We did not participate in the pursuit.
I guess about that pursuit, did an unmarked officer find the stolen vehicle, or how did we find the stolen vehicle? How did the pursuit start?
Yeah, the South Dakota Highway Patrol initiated the pursuit. I'm not sure what kind of vehicle they were driving. Typically, when a pursuit is within the city, if it doesn't fall within the parameters of our pursuit policy, then we'll assist at the conclusion of the event, which is what we did in this case. Details of the pursuit itself I'd have to refer you to the Highway Patrol.
I'll go back a little bit to the
Yeah.
handgun incident.
Mhm.
Why? Like, what happened? Why was there a subject with a gun and where?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Yep,
sorry. My brain's
those are
not
things that
working well.
those are things that
Like,
I like
initiated
to say that a lot of times
policy.
the arrest of an individual does not necessarily mean the conclusion of the investigation into the case. So there are still details that we'll need to follow up on, but at least in that case, we did have a suspect that was arrested, so. Any other questions? I'll turn it over to Keith. Sure.
Yeah, just, again, speaking to the events there, especially, the homicide issue, just obviously challenging. People will notice that, pay attention. I think it's a good glimpse too of just what law enforcement is like. From the initial chaos of that patrol response to obviously multiple people, injured or killed, suspects still on scene. It's just the professionalism of our department, witnessing this in full display. Very, very proud of our team and how we respond to that incident. Our condolences go to the families who lost loved ones, and obviously loss of life is senseless. We are confident in our abilities to investigate this case to its fullest, work with our partners at the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office to make sure that we put a comprehensive picture together. But again, great work by our team responding to a chaotic situation, the dedication of our detectives, our patrol, and everything there you'll see on display. And thanks to Lieutenant Nyberg for his update today, and we'll continue to investigate this to the fullest. So thank you.